Right. So as we look on into the Wu of Day Master, the Wu of Day Master, of course, represents the Yang Earth. Now, the picture of the Yang Earth is always that great mountain, and therefore the imagery of a solid rock, a solid boulder, a mountain. And so, Wu of Day Masters. What do you think? Do you think they Wu of Day Masters are independent or are they dependent? So the imagery of the Wu Earth is that they are independent. Like a mountain, they, similar with the Ping Fire Day Master, they have this tendency not to feel needy, not to feel dependent. Therefore, here the Wu Earth Day Master's purpose. So, what it would be the purpose of their life? Or what is the destiny? What is their meaning of their life for a Wu Earth Day Master? If you look into the Jiawut, the Jiawut is about growth. The Jiawut is about nurture. Therefore, benevolence is the key virtue of Wood Day Masters. For fire, it will be the agent of change. The fire is to illuminate, to shine, to show the world, to change. So the Wu Earth Day Master, yes, that's right, Pui, is for people to depend on them. Therefore, the Wu Earth Day Master is dependent, trustworthy, and they can keep secrets. They can bring secrets to their grave. Therefore, Wu Day Master is. Now, what differentiates between a Wu Earth and a Chi Earth Day Masters? Would be Chi Earth likes to talk a lot. Huh? Therefore, uh, basically, if you go into a room and you see anyone who are social butterflies and talk a lot, well, they are either Sin Metal or they are Chi Earth. And the one that's quiet in the room, the one that may be in a corner without talking too much, chances are that might be your Wu Earth Day Master. So the Wu of Day Master's influence is via respect and trust. Therefore, not via the gift of the gap, the silver tongue, but more or less their silence as it is. Oh yes, they are despot, they are despot. Yewood, yep. Yewood is also Yewood is more personal. They're not that they're not like the life of the party kind of not like the look at me, the sin matter would. But yeah, Yewood will tend to talk, but as it is also. So that's bound as it is. Now, how do you know a Wu Earth Day Master? Definitely, you look at their desk. Their desk, uh, chances are would be messy, but not so messy. But chances are they have everything within their reach because they don't like to move around. So in an office, they would have everything. A stapler, a cutter, you name it, they have it. Therefore, they don't need to move around. And definitely, they will like to hoard things. Earth people tend to keep. They tend to hoard. Because inside Earth hide thousand things. So that is why when we look into Earth, it is often the graveyard star. And inside Earth contained many hidden elements. Therefore, the Wu Earth Day Master manifests that hidden elements inside it. Therefore, for career, as we would like to consider, a Wu Earth Day Master makes excellent worker, excellent employee, because they have, well, hidden talents. They have many talents inside them. And therefore, they will be dependable, they will be multi-talented, they are resourceful. So the Earth people are very resourceful. And Yang Earth, of course, is a strong mountain. Therefore, they will show resilience, they will show toughness, they will be supportive of other people. So as you look into the characteristics of the Wu Earth Day Master, so this is the key hallmarks. So the key hallmarks would be that they are reliable, trustworthy, resilient, and they definitely can stand hardship. And perhaps we can do find that sometimes The hardship can also be a weakness in a sense that they don't see doctors too often because they can take it. They can feel, they can tolerate pain long. So Wu Earth are patient. I mean, in a way, you can say that a mountain rarely change. Most of our lifetime, our possibly our ancestors, 9 lines above, and us, will be able to see the same mountain. So the mountain is unchanging, patient, long term. Therefore, they are reliable. They're reliable because they are consistent. They're consistent because they do what they say and they hold to it. They hold. Therefore, they are enduring. So it would be quite a challenge to make a Wu Earth your enemy because the Wu Earth is unmoving. They're unmoving and they will be dependable on that. Therefore, they will hold on to their principles and whatever moral code that they have, they will hold on to. So with this in mind, as we look into career, so that's where we want to now explore what kind of career can a mountain now, and of course, what would then be their vulnerability? The flip side of a mountain that is unchanging is, of course, stubborn. Now, I'm not too sure who is more stubborn, the Jiawood or the Wu Earth. These two are quite about the same. Both of them are inflexible because the tall tree and the mountain are two elements that refuse to move, refuse to change. They stand their ground. Therefore, with that in mind, it will be difficult to convince or persuade a Wu Earth to change their mind as well. And Earth, when Earth produces, what does Earth produce? Earth produces metal. Now, in a way, that productive cycle is not one that produces. It's one to say that they have it all inside. So you can do consider that metal is extracted out from the mountain. So this case of mountain producing diamond. Oh yeah, factory. Maybe you put it right, huh? Jiawood are stubborn, hard of hearing actually, and Wu Earth are obstinate. Okay, but these two can stand criticism. These two are good for customer service. You can put them on the front line and and allow angry customers to yell at them, and they'll still hold their ground and smile. So good. If you have younger, more junior Wu Earth people, put them on the front line, they can hold their ground. So procrastination. Procrastination because Wu Earth is considered to be slow. So this is where the difference between Jiawood and Wu Earth comes in. Even though both of them are stubborn and inflexible, Jiawood would be willing to die for their children because fire, when producing, no wood, wood when producing fire burns out, and sacrifice themselves. But the Wu Earth does not quickly burn themselves. Wu Earth takes time to produce. As they take time to produce, they are considered to procrastinate. They may be perceived to procrastinate because they take their time, because they take some time to arrive at their decision. So this is where, for women, for Wu Earth female, because it takes their time to produce output, and output are children. So that's where in the ancient days, Wu Earth ladies are not perceived to be as welcoming as other day masters, considering that they might be deemed to have difficulties in childbearing. More so, of course, Earth is graveyard stars, and therefore, usually, jargons like that tends to put off the more ignorant people. But anyway, procrastination, yes. So you want Wu Earth To move, there must be some kind of force. Earthquake. So earth meeting earth would create the kind of clash that might be necessary. And so Wu Earth people may need some joke in their life to be motivated. If not, they then hold on to their suppression. An earthquake, of course, volcano, of course, are things that would takes time to happen, and when it blows, it blows. Therefore, that's where the inherent vulnerability would be emotional suppression. So as we look into it, we try to consider what would be the key characteristics. Well, they are resourceful and productive because Earth produces and feeds fertile soil. Therefore, the difference would be that even though both Earth Day Masters are nurturing and productive, the She Earth, of course, will represent the Mother Earth, the more feminine nature of productive, and while Young Earth will be the more aloof father. Academically inclined? Oh, yes. Academically inclined, yes, because here they are good in listening, unlike the Chia. They do listen, they do analyze, and they will take their time to study. Religious? Yes, they are religious because for them, fire does represent religion, and of course, fire is their resource. Right. So this will be where we can say, oh yeah, Pei you do have your obstinate here, yeah? Right. So a very quick guess. Wu Earth people are loyal, they are trustworthy, they are secretive, they are tough, but the other side of it would be obstinate and also slow, as it is. And of course, but for Chi Earth, when Chi Earth mixed with water, they tend to have body odor, so they smell a bit. Therefore, there will be some of the slight manifestation here as well. So now let's take a look into the useful God. Because when looking for career, yes, you can look at a career pillar. Yes, you can look at the month pillar. The month pillar is typical. Therefore, usually for basic or for those who start to learn, we will then say that okay, look at the month pillar for your career. But as you go deeper, uh, choices, alternatives can come in the form of your useful gods. Therefore, what kind of useful gods? What kind of useful gods do we have for the Yang Day Master? That would then determine on the season itself as well. All right. Into one part, we will consider if you look into the schedule, if you observe the given schedule, one useful god that appears on every month, one useful god that appears every month for the Wu Earth Day Master, except for the rooster. Therefore, with the exception of the rooster month, this element appears on every other month. And that would be the Jiawut. So the Jiawut represents the useful god. It's a regulating useful god for, and it appears on all the 11 months. The only one is except the rooster, except the you. Therefore, definitely Jiawut becomes the regulating. And what is the Jiawut? What is what is the Jiawut to a Wu Earth? What does it determine? It says for wood controls earth, and therefore that's right, Benjamin, you got it right. 7. And therefore, quite rarely do we find 7K to be useful, but for Wu Earth it is. Most Yang lah. Most Yang Day Masters welcome 7K win. Only the yin tends to fear. I mean, the Ting fire will be afraid of the Kueh water. And the Yi wood, of course, will be very afraid of the Sin metal. But then the Wu this will fight. So with the exception of the rooster month, all other months, the Jia wood is the useful god. Therefore, 7K comes. Why? In a way, what does Wu Earth combines with? Wu Earth would like to combine with. What is the typical combination? And a typical combination is the Kueh water. And so Wu Earth combines with Kueh water. So if you do look into the natural science, we have rain. We have rain because the rains and the clouds are collected in the mountains. Therefore, in natural science, the mountain collects water. The mountain collects water. And a mountain that can collect water is a mountain that has trees. And therefore, here, the Kueh water here represents the direct well. And therefore, this will be the case where the Wu Earth Day Master makes money with 7K. And 7K, of course, represents courage, represents taking risk, represents an aggressive one. One of the Wu Earth Day Master is a Fui Kong, it's a commander star. And that one is hard to kill. That one is a very strong commander star. Right. Therefore, here we do see that Wu Earth Day Masters can take jobs that fit a 7K. And that would normally be in the area of warrior, a warrior, kind of a related job, a fighter, because the Day Masters can fit this particular line. So if you look into the schedule, Jia would represent in almost all the months. Now, the one that appears virtually in all the 12 months now. Now, this one is another useful god that appears in all. And that would be what? And that would be the Ping Fire. So when you look into the schedule, when you look into the given schedule, Ping Fire. Now, of course, the given schedule is strongly persuasive, but one has to remember and to take care that for reasons, there might be exceptions. So we need to look at the chart closer, just in the event that there is any deviation. But nonetheless, Ping Fire represents the perpetual useful god, all 12 months, throughout the year. Because the thing about mountain, the thing about the majesticness of the mountain, especially when the sun shines on it. This is where when the sun shines on it with a proper angle, it illuminates and it becomes golden. It becomes golden. And the fire reflects it becomes one big mirror. And therefore, that brings out the majestic nature of the Ping Fire. More for Easter Mountain. And not Easter Mountain, the Spring Mountain. So the Spring Mountain during the Easter time, that would be the dragon. Therefore, for the dragon mud, so therefore the Ping Fire represents that. And what is Ping Fire then? To the Wu Earth Day Master. So to the Wu Earth Day Master, Ping Fire represents what? It represents your fire producers, Wu Earth, isn't it? Therefore, it represents your indirect resource. Indirect. So to a certain degree, Wu Earth Day Master welcomes the typical negative stars. So in conservative Tang Dynasty virtues, 7K indirect resource are not the positive stars to look at. So they're not the traditional type. So Wu Earth Day Masters are unconventional. They rather pursue 7K, they rather take indirect resource. And therefore these two are the very, very common, very, very common. And during the spring season, one element that becomes useful will be gray water. Therefore, gray water will become useful because water is essential to moisten the earth. And so gray water comes to mind. And so gray water represents the direct wealth. And of course, direct wealth will then bring about the nature that this day master is detail oriented, uh, focus on a micro tactical level, and that makes the Wu Earth Day Master a good employee. A good employee. So not all day masters, of course, enjoy being employees. Ping Fire, no. Ping Fire do not like to be an employee. They rather be freelancers. Run Water as well. Run Water Day Masters do not cherish official position because for a Run Water, Chi Earth contaminates water. So direct officer contaminates Run Water. So no. And then of course here we do find and of course the for the case of the Wu Earth, water represents the wealth. And so for those who are born during the spring season, then Koi water tends to be the useful god. Run water, according to the schedule, only once. Yes. So only during the horse month, during the height of summer, that you find run water. So generally it will be the Koi water that will be the key useful god for the element. All right, so fire would be the pink fire. The ting fire basically is not so not so effective because ting fire doesn't not big enough, not powerful enough to warm the. Right. So as we look into it, we do also consider that now as you look into the schedule, we don't find metal. So we don't find metal to be the useful god. And so in the exception, if we do find that the Wu Earth is excessively strong, only when the day master is excessively strong, that metal will be useful. Rarely, so metal is rarely. So this is where Wu Earth are not creative. Don't ask them to draw things. They are not the artists. And if there's any messy eater, that will likely be the Wu Earth. Because fine dining is not the typical hallmark of a Wu Earth. So they're not refined. They and Keng metal, these two are not so refined in terms of table manners. All right, so by outlining the favorable elements, we now come into the paradox. Because in every element we have the yin and the yang, and therefore the paradox both comes in. So the paradox of stability, that would be the Wu Earth paradox, the paradox of stability. Stability indicates that Wu Earth are self-sufficient. The mountain doesn't need any other elements. Therefore, basically, their purpose in life to be a mountain is to be dependent by others. So therefore, it is more to say that they. So that's where the paradox comes in. They are independent. They are independent. They don't need anyone else. But the purpose is for them to be needed. For them to be needed. Also very common, we would say that the mountain doesn't go to people, people come to the mountain. Therefore, the mountain draws people. and they themselves do not move out. So more or less, they do fit. So the Wu Earth Day Masters tend to be loners. They tend to be quiet because they tend to be uh, they tend to be basically independent. So one is very often for one very often mistaken identity is that Wu Earth do not appear to be welcoming at the first instant. But once you get to know them, you will discover that they are very caring. They are very empathetic. It's just that they do not show because they don't come to you. They don't reach out. You reach to them. So when you do have Wu Earth bosses or Wu Earth colleagues, you can always approach them. You can always approach them because they are resourceful, they are nurturing, just that they do not show. They do not show because they might appear to be aloof. Because here they rely on their internal strength. And so for employers, for bosses outlining Wu Earth Day Masters, it is a matter that they must reach out. So therefore here it is expected that you need to make the first step. Wu Earth Day Masters have a tendency not to make the first step. They don't. They don't make the first step. You have to do it. Because why? You have to go to the mountain. The mountain doesn't come to you. And therefore that's where this is the paradox, the paradox of stability. Okay, so now let's run through very quickly, just to not to so-called repeat. Now we come into the season. Yes, Jay, correct. Wu Earth are natural protectors. They are the protectors. They are fierce guardian to protect of for people that they can. So for spring months, of course, wood is prosperous. Therefore, the Jia will be able to loosen and plow the earth, therefore making it useful. So once again, Jia wood is a useful god for all months except Rooster. Therefore, it needs to soften the earth. So if the earth is too strong, a domineering earth is hard earth, and a hard earth is unproductive. Therefore, this will be the case whereby earth needs to be moist, earth needs to be loosened in order to be useful. Therefore, during the spring months, Kui water becomes important, Ping fire, and Jia. So these are the three useful gods that also stated in the schedule. And so for summer months, for Wu Earth born during the summer months, where fire is indirect resource becomes too strong. Now, when indirect resource is too strong, because the indirect resource is also known as the owl, we also call it the owl, indicating a strange aloof behavior. And so that may mean that this Wu Earth becomes unfriendly. It becomes on its own mind, and therefore it may not be able to connect very well. And so this will require now that will be where the Keng metal is often now come in. So if fire and earth are excessive, then the Keng metal will be the useful. But water will be in because the summer months of the horse will be where rainwater also will become useful. But rainwater is rare. It's very rare for rainwater to be the useful. So rainwater represents indirect wealth. And since rainwater does not appear to be the useful god many often, then Wu Earth tends not to lean towards indirect wealth. So therefore, That's why they're stable. That's why Wu Earth is stable. They're stable because they shy away from indirect wealth. And so Wu Earth do not tend to have luck in gambling or speculation. So therefore, if ever they are drawn towards it, it can be dangerous. So meaning to say that Wu Earth Day Masters born in summer should avoid gambling, should avoid speculating. Because once the chart is hot, the Wu Earth needs moisture. So this need create that kind of the kind of deprived need. And therefore the fulfillment of this deprived need is actually can be harmful to them. Therefore the affinity to that should be a matter. But nonetheless, Keng metal should come in. Keng metal is the refined god, the eating god. Now during autumn will then be where the metal is prosperous, and when metal is prosperous, then metal may weaken the earth. Weakening is done. But to weaken the earth, that is fine. So some fire will tend to be needed to control metal, and therefore that's where the pink fire, koi water, and the jawut comes in as well. So at the end of the day, the typical useful gods for Wu Earth Day Masters would be the three: the jawut, the koi water, and the pink fire. So these are the three useful gods. So if you cannot remember the schedule because there's just so many facts and rules and so on, just safely assume that these three will always be there. They'll always be needed by the Wu Earth Day Masters. And during the winter months, of course, during the winter months, if you do look at most of it, we also find that uh, uh, pink fire will also be useful. And if during winter, if rainwater is too strong, you then need wood. Wood. Because the thing about wood is that wood will control the earth and prevent the earth from being uh, eroded by the ocean water. Therefore, when earth is eroded by water, earth collapses. And therefore, Jakwood comes to the point. And so this may indicate sometimes courage, sometimes courage. So in certain manner, when water is too strong, especially when you talk about male Wu Earth, because the male Wu Earth, the wife or the spouses will be water, and so when water is too strong, it may be considered to be a kind of relationship problem where domineering wife or domineering spouse. Therefore, courage is needed. 7K is needed in order to weaken water. Therefore, the Jawud comes to that point. So that's how the reading comes. The auspicious stars. Auspicious stars would be monkey. So the monkey is the academic star. Therefore, we do find that the pillar wushen, which is the earth monkey, will then be sitting on academic. So sitting on academic star, wushen will be highly intelligent and of course with good position. That's also Shen will then be also the eating god. So eating god naturally is a positive element sitting on eating god. Therefore, academic star would be the monk. The dog. So the dog would be somewhat wuxi. So wuxi would then be your earth dog. The earth dog is heavily noble, and the earth dog is peacock. Therefore, that's where earth dog is one of the very powerful pillars. Now, even though today's topic is on day master, but wuxi doesn't matter. It can be anywhere. It can be on your year, it can be on your month, on your hour. And when you have it, you have the commander pillar. And this commander pillar, hard to kill, hard to die. Therefore, Fui Kong tends to rule the world. They tend to climb to the highest, and then they are strong. They are greed. They are full. So Fui Kong has greed. They have greed. So they become an enemy that doesn't die, so to speak. And heavily noble, which means they do have useful people, very well connected. So Wuxi will find it easy to make money, very easy to make, because heaven and earth are both earth, mountain. And when you have mountain, you collect water. So mountains collect water, contains water, captures water. Mountains attract clouds to form water and collect water. Therefore, Fui Kong stars here, money making, right? Pillar is one of that. So therefore, they become wealthy. So Wuxi can be wealthy uh, because of the nobleman, because of the Fui Kong stars, and the ability to collect wealth. Okay, so Wu Shen will be your academic. The Wu Shi will be the warrior, the commander, the CEO, and of course, to be good in leadership, potential comes in. The horse and the rat, these are the six elegants. So they are part of the six elegances, indicating that they are the intelligent, the refined individuals. And of course, that means your Yang Earth horse is also the prosperity, a good reputation, and so on. And also the 10 spirit day. 10 spirit day. Now, this one is a bit more, this is very narrow. If you can ever, I can't remember all these things, but then nowadays with computers and with better calculators, we can always be reminded. But so one of those very obscure kind of rule is that the Earth Day Master with a Keng hour. No wood, no wood will then lead to a very prosperous life. Very, very prosperous. Because Keng is pure metal. Pure metal. So pure metal means output. Output. In the hour chart. And hour chart is for the children chart. And the hour chart is your output pillar. So output pillar, you see pure output. Therefore, that's where it's very prosperous. Right. Therefore, this will be all the auspicious stars and configurations that we have. Okay, so now next so therefore very quickly we'll take a look into the following. How do you motivate a wooer? So wooer is procrastinator, obstinate, stubborn. And so what does it need the most? Challenge. And therefore, since Jawud needs 7 killing, one of the great motivation for Wu Earth people is to challenge them. Fui Kong also, Fui Kong commander stars, they welcome challenges. They like it. They like it. If they see that you deliberately lose to them, just to suck up to them, you lost their respect. You want them to respect you, you challenge them because they love it. They love the challenge. The mountain will come and climb me if you dare. Because this will be where they come into. Therefore, the motivation here will be challenges. Such them as this. And so, a mountain with trees is beautiful. A majestic mountain is a mountain with trees. A mountain without trees will be vulnerable to erosion. A mountain without tree is ugly. It's an ugly mountain. So that is why they say that the autumn mountain not so pretty lah. So between Wu Chen and Wu Shi, Wu Shi is ugly, Wu Chen is beautiful. Therefore, that's where the Chen gives you a lot of so-called. All right. What it needs also, of course, clear structure. So Wu Earth needs clear structure and high stake responsibility. Because here again, they are direct wealth. So therefore, these people, they are direct wealth. Kui water comes in. And of course, high stake responsibility because of the seven. Okay, seven. But because Jia Wood is favorable, again, balance is always there. And so if wood is too strong, so if wood is too strong, if the mountain is too dense with trees, then it becomes unwelcoming. Humans will find it difficult to enter into a dense jungle. Therefore, it becomes uh, not able to visit, not able to climb. Therefore, therefore, it'll be too strong means constantly overwhelmed. That comes into, and of course, if no wood element is present, then feel powerful but purposeless. So purposeless becomes, and when it's purposeless here, they become depressed. They become, again, the mountain is a procrastinator. And therefore, procrastination is stagnant. They become stagnant. As they become stagnant, then also they become so-called demotivated. Demotivated. And to them, once they do that, then of course they are no longer drawn by money. You can't attract them, and they won't take it and get it. All right, so therefore this will be the case whereby what the Wu Earth would require. And therefore with this, we then take a look into the requirement. Okay, so if that's the case, then what kind of career should we look at? Well, fire industry. Pink fire is fire related, into a team that will be useful, into one minerals expressing their output into it, and of course those with water that comes. So what should be the what should Wu Earth Day Masters be mindful of? So again, the Wu Earth, because many of them are Fui Kong stars, commander, they need to be their over domineering position. They may tend to be a bully. Therefore, the tendency to bully comes in. In a way, for the branches, Earth and Earth are bullying punishment. So therefore, Earth and Earth tends to bully each. So in a way, a Wu Earth do not really enjoy meeting another Wu Earth. Therefore, tendency is to clash. Normally, when we say Earth meeting Earth, it's earthquake. Earthquake clashes, bullying punishment that comes in because of that. And so poor financial management. In a way, there is a saying, or if we say that a Wu and Kui combination is temporary. Sometimes the imagery is the Wu Earth is an old man and the Kui water is a young lady. So for Wu Earth and Kui water are temporary. So sometimes in this case, it may also be considered that poor financial management. And they don't like rock wealth. So no. So Wu Earth do not like rock wealth. Rock wealth is the Chi Earth. Because Chi Earth absorbs water better. Chi Earth is more nurturing. And therefore, when Wu Earth compares to Chi Earth, there's a tendency that Chi Earth wins. It wins. Because Chi Earth is more feminine, more nurturing, then they tend to talk a lot more. Therefore, when you put two employees together, one who talks more, shows more caring, absorbs better. Therefore, the Chi Earth will tend to rob the wealth, of the Wu Earth. Therefore, these are usually the negative, the negative. So unlike the Yeatwood welcomes Rockwell. The Yeatwood dominates over their Rockwell. But now the Wu Earth is the other way around. The other the excessive water. So whenever there's too much water, as usual, we will consider it. Now the Wuxi is the autumn mud. Now normally Wuxi is considered to be up high in the mountain, so whereby of course they are able to collect money, but of course if the water is excessive, then overflows and it creates a kind of avalanche, the kind of a what when water overflows into the right. So generally, this would be some of the so-called potential challenges comes into it. Now, Fui Kong, of course, is the commander's task. Normally, because it is a fighter with grit, that's where it has a tendency to take risk, and risk such as this may also sometimes be one. All right, now let's come into the next part, and the next part here will come on to the 6 pillars. And for the 6 pillars, one by one, we will explore. We'll take a look into the that means this will be your earth rat. The image of earth rat is winter mountain. It's a mountain over a frozen lake. A mountain over a frozen lake is also where this is a day pillar sitting on wealth. So sitting on wealth, and the wealth is frozen, represents hidden financial potential. So therefore, Wu Zhi is one that has a strategic accumulation, strategic, and one that can be capable of making money. But be careful, be careful. For the day master, it represents one that sits on wealth, one that sits on wealth. But the opposite will be correct when divination, when looking for divination. If looking for divination, this normally represents collapse, financial collapse. And the last time the year of the Wu-Zhe came, we had the global financial crisis of 2008. Therefore, this would be why? Because Earth sitting on water is unstable. Earth sitting on water is unstable. Therefore, here we do consider that if favorable, it's sitting on money. If favorable, but once the water is too strong, then of course it always tilt over to the other side. So anyway, the career pathway for Wu-Zhe is just about that. It's about that money. So it's about managing money, managing money. So we do find that top on the list would be the ability to be patient. Wu Earth tends to be value investors, long-term investors. Mountain is long-term, and therefore they are conservative, and they should play the long game, to play the long game. So the red is where outside is indirect wealth, but inside is direct wealth. Therefore, that's where fund manager. Therefore, a fund manager is like that. When you look into fund manager, because fund manager manages wealth, outside is indirect fund manager, but inside is direct wealth. Therefore, inside is employee. So fund manager is an employee, works in an organization that comes in. Therefore, they excel in wealth management, asset planning, and data analysis. Why? Because direct wealth that comes in. Therefore, this would be the calling of the right. So once again, reading for Patzi is different from reading for divination. The reading is opposite. Therefore, that's why sometimes people misunderstood, and took the wrong meaning. So if so what to do if it has excessive water? Wood. You then need wood. You then need wood around to hold on to the earth. Because mountain sitting on water, if water is too strong, the earth collapses. Therefore, wood will weaken. Wood will be the useful god to regulate that. Right. Now, as you look into the forest mountain, now for the forested mountain, majestic, because a mountain with trees is good. Therefore, in Pachi, you see mountain, you like trees on the mountain because wood is the useful god for the mountain. So when it's dense, it's majestic. Therefore, this brings about the leader in the person. And once again, wood is seven killing. Therefore, sitting on seven killing, embrace pressure and seize authority, gain control. And seven killing is charismatic and charming. It has the warrior persona. And when it's the warrior persona and you're yang, your voice is louder, it can be good. Benjamin, yes. Actually, weakening is better than to control. We regulating elements, normally we prefer weakening because weakening is less, it doesn't clash so much. Even in feng shui, also the same thing. In feng shui, we normally take the elements that weakens another element rather than. So that's why I say that we place metal. We place metal in five yellow because five yellow is earth, metal weakens earth. So therefore, weakening to come. So therefore, it's a more harmonious. And so when we look into Wu Yin, it is leadership, ambition, pressure. Because why? Sitting on seven killing. So this kind of thing are excellent team leaders, commanders, and of course in the Tang Dynasty's time, warrior. This as a warrior path. Send them to the army. And now the Wu Chen. Now dragon, of course. This is not the dragon's mount. The dragon's mountain will then be sitting on wood as well. So it's formidable, disciplined, rational, and they build things to last. And therefore, sometimes the allegory of the Great Wall of China is the Wuchen. This is also, and of course, in the past, the emperor is as the motif of the dragon as usual. And so build the legacy structure long term. So people like that are builders. So Wuchen are builders. Therefore, architecture, engineer, or anything that comes to create, anything that comes to create. Now, what are the hidden elements of a dragon? What are the hidden elements of a dragon? What is hidden inside the dragon? Can you remember? Water, that's right. Correct. Therefore, what is hidden would then be your. And then these are the useful gods. Can you see that? These are the useful gods. Ping Kui, Kui water, Ping fire, and again, Jia wood. So therefore, Jia wood and the Chen, of course, is the wood. Is the spring. Therefore, that's why sitting on useful gods, making Wu Chen one of the useful elements. Now here comes the volcano. The volcano can flare up to a very emotional outburst. Therefore, the image of Wu is one where Sometimes you find somebody who is very patient and you poke the bear, you keep poking and poking and poking the bear, you just keep poking, teasing, making fun and insult. And so for 9 hours, the person can be calm and relaxed. And the final minute, the person turn around in rage and murder everyone. Therefore, the volcano is the blazing fire, fiery, passionate, driven, and therefore, therefore, in all simplicity, don't piss off a day master, because inside is fire. Inside is fire, and that fire can be, of course, resource, an indirect resource. And when you have indirect resource on the surface, this and a very meticulous direct resource inside, indicating that the person can be a plotter, a one that can, and so excellent in revenge, very good in revenge. Therefore, if you piss off this, the revenge will be long coming but very sweet. The plan and plan. Therefore, the career strategy here is, well, in terms of it, build up a lot of fire. And fire, of course, indicates resource and simmers that continues to build up and produce more. Uh, Therefore, in that case, the person uh, can follow a career where driven by passion, and of course, a career where volatility becomes an asset. Volatility becomes an asset. So they can be on the go. Now, next we look into the wushen. So that's where wushen is the thing about a mountain. So we consider that diamond. Therefore, diamonds, minerals, precious metals, they are formed inside the earth for centuries. Therefore, the mineral mountain is represented. So we do have quite some many celebrities that have this picture, the wushen. Therefore, they are resourceful, they are very creative and natural innovators. And so Wushens are usually as an employee, Wushen is most flexible. They can be anywhere. Because once you're resourceful, you can work in any discipline. You can work in any line, because you have the ability to quickly learn, ability to be the scholar, ability to provide advice. Therefore, consultancy specialists are the hallmarks of the Wushen. Now, last but not least, we come into the Wuxi, which is now the Hui Kong. Therefore, this definitely you bring to the front line because they are one of the toughest pillars around. They are formidable. They become the enemy that you cannot kill, the enemy that doesn't sleep. And therefore, they have that raw motivation. They have the ability. And sitting, so earth sitting on earth. And inside this earth will then be the sin metal, and then will be the thing fire. Therefore, in this case, there are certain things in the light would then be things that requires detailed scrutiny. So inside them, inside, because here, inside the dog will be your thing fire, which is your direct resource, and your sin metal, which is
Yeah.
your hurting of his mountain amount. All right. So with this in mind, we can come. Oh, sorry. They. Oh dear. Wow, Chire is a Rockwell goat blade, isn't it? Okay, Mabel. Now, if that's the case, then you need to look for your useful god, and to weaken the Rockwell is to that means to avoid your man pillar. To avoid your man pillar means you do not seek career in the natural, in a typical sense. maybe you'll find your useful god to be in a year pillar or maybe in your hour pillar. Therefore, in that case, then you strengthen the useful god. And a very important one is Jawud, because Jawud will control the Chi Earth more effectively. The more effectively. Or the other one is the poison pill, run water. Because run water washes the Chi Earth faster than it washes the Wu Earth. Therefore, this will be the case where uh, something like what certain Western medicine would do. Because certain medicine is where when you take certain medicine, especially cancer, for those with cancer, so this where it kills the cancer cells as well. It kills some of your good cells as well. Therefore, that might be the necessary. And so the run water is indirect well. Therefore, pursue that. Okay, so Jawud would be better to control the GF. If not, run water can also be used. Right. Which also, of course, rock wealth means avoid, no? Avoid entering into partnership, avoid entering into collaboration. Who Earth are independent people, so they tend to be independent, tend to be self-employed. And since your month pillar is the rock wealth good blade, then do not be employed. Seek out. So if you go through the tiger, then that's good. That's good. Then it might be something that can arbitrate and control your rock. But always constantly keep in mind, and whenever you have opportunities to join venture, to collaborate, to come in together, be on a mindful, read their charts, and of course, stay away from those with rock wealth good. Right. Well, there you go. So this will be all in all the 6 types of Wu Earth Day Masters, and of course the useful gods are always the critical component to cover up your career. So once again, this is a bit more advanced level. So we don't just do what your career pillar says you do. You then look for your useful gods and find those solutions to be the key for Benjamin, thank you. I will also share this. I think I've shared with you already. If you have not received it, is it yeah? If not, then you let me know. I'll share this interactive web with you as well. All right. Okay, so good night. I will see you next week for the next day master then. All right, thank you and